Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. This is our first episode of Undaunted. I'm excited to be here with these great gentlemen. I have, of course, my brother in arms and cut buddy and business partner, 10G. Hey, 10G, how's everything
That's good.
um, up north?
Good. Just the weather, you know how it is. Different. Anytime the holiday or the weekend, the weather is going to act up. But still good to be here. As we have Elliot in the building, and we could chop it up and find out some, good information and see what's working and the different ways we can understand and learn some new things. So here,
That's what's up. Brother Elliot, glad to have met you through Black Executive Men. Today, on today's Memorial Day, I do want to take a moment and just acknowledge, as you are a veteran, and we have a lot of veteran family, the loss that you may have experienced or the people in our circle have experienced. So I wanted to play before I went to you, Brother Nike Roach, who was at a veterans memorial service yesterday, and he posted this. I thought was really appropriate. I'm just go ahead and play this.
Come to this place very quietly. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Nikkei Roach. I'm a U.S. Army medic, and I'm in a very solemn place, a holy place, a place that's set apart. This is the Beaufort National Cemetery here in Beaufort County, South Carolina. As is the tradition in our family, it's to come to national cemeteries to give honor and appreciation and great thanks to the brothers and sisters who served before me and after me, who gave the ultimate sacrifice to make sure that we live safely. So on this Memorial Day weekend, come honorably. I know sometimes we don't always disagree as Americans, and that's just part of being an American. But when it comes to coming to a place like this, give it its due respect because the people who came here, either from the Civil War, Vietnam War, World War II, World War One, Beirut, uh, Afghanistan, Kuwait, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, um, Grenada, wherever the person served, there's someone who is one of our brothers and sisters. And I know sometimes we're not biologically connected to them, but as Americans, we are connected to all the brothers and sisters, all 28,000 of them who are here. Who, if you really think about it, and if we're all really connected, you have a family member or a dear friend whose family member is here. So come here on Memorial Day, come quiet, spend a few hours or just a few minutes and listen to the message that these heroes give you. Bye for now.
your mic is off, Martin.
Thank you, Brother Elliot. Welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to join the military?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. I'm blessed, and what really brought me here is just following a dream and aspirations. When I joined the military, I was really looking for a place to just get away from home, as everyone is when they're younger. I didn't want to go to college, and I really needed a job, so the military was the choice for me. But once I joined the military, it definitely opened up so many doors and opportunities that I couldn't even fathom. So the military was definitely a blessing in disguise, and in a roundabout way, it saved my life.
It's interesting. So Brother Elliot, when we hear about men, especially black men and women, when they join into the Army, Air Force, just the services, do you is are you still accepted as as family among each other, or is there certain parts where you feel like, okay, I got to earn you know um, people to just accept me as how I am?
I think definitely when you join in the beginning, you feel as though you're an outsider. But when you go through boot camp with your team and your group of people, you guys become family. Just because everything is new to you guys and you guys are all kind of experiencing the same experiences. So you come out of there with a few people that you consider close, but the military life, it always breaks you up. So just in that quickness, you learn to cherish the relationships that you form, but you also you are reminded that you have a job. So right after boot camp, you're about 2.5 months or so, you're shipped off to where you're going to be learning your trade or your rate. And so a lot of the times in boot camp, you're not necessarily with everyone that you're going to be going to the next step with. So those bonds that you form, they're either forever or they're not, and you take it for the moment in time that they were, and then you keep moving on.
So those bonds that you do form, is it kind of, would you say, like, I know when the one thing like I regret, like even not being part of going to college and being on the campus, and it's something like one thing I can say about college and school system is you form a specific bond with, you last for a long time as far as being friends and knowing so many people. Is it just like that in the service as well, that you've seen?
Definitely, once you get to serve in your work duties or workstations, I was on a carrier for 5 years, and so that 5 year time, I definitely formed some lifelong relationships that I cherish and that I, hold near and dear. And it's kind of funny, although we don't keep in as touch as I would like to. I know that if I reached out or if I called, there's certain people that, it would be like, we never stop talking. But with life, you do move on. Just like in college, you keep hearing ones and twosies, but a lot of the times you just don't have time to connect with everyone, because everybody's lives is changing.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. One of the things I wanted to also ask you, I think a lot of times, shout out to Charlemagne McCarter, who couldn't be here, um, Commander Nefertari Strickland, who just became the commander for the Pennsylvania National Guard, and also our friend and co-host of another show, Sharice. These are all veterans that served, and um, I wonder, one of the things that on this Memorial Day, a lot of the folks that I know, they don't celebrate Memorial Day. Like, it's not a celebration; it's a remembrance, or almost a solemn service. And that wasn't something I understood until after COVID. I didn't know the personal um, trauma that this day may bring up for folks. So, are there any suggestions that you have for people as they navigate Memorial Day and throw up their pictures, on IG and even on LinkedIn? Is there any suggestion you have for folks to be respectful?
Yeah, just that. Be respectful of people, and they're sharing with a little piece of you of themselves, and that could be a very vulnerable piece. So just be respectful and know that this is a time for them to. This might be the only time that they give themselves to be able to have the grace to feel those feelings. And so when they do post those pictures or when they do share a memory, take it in light and understand where they're coming from, but also be there and be supportive. Just like if you would have lost a loved one or someone that's near and dear to you, and it's the anniversary for that. This is the time for us to take a moment of silence and just kind of remember the times that we shared with them, the moments that we may have share with them, as well as the times that they don't get to share no longer as being here on earth with us. And so I found myself talking to a friend that I lost in the military, and I talk to him all the time. And so for me, Memorial Day is not a day that I really just put out there and do the pictures and stuff, but it is a time that I throughout the whole day, I'm just like I find myself really talking to him and just kind of having a conversation with him, and letting him understand that I'm still thinking about him and he's still close to me.
Well, thank you, Brother Billy, for your service. Thank you for sharing and being open, to talk about that. Part of the reason that we wanted to do another podcast series called Undaunted is because as Tin and I look around the internet, but also in general, we see a lot of stories about celebrities or one-off stories where you don't really understand the human experience and what it takes to be a leader or a trailblazer in an industry. You just hear about the accolades. Hey, so and so just got $30 million for their hemp company, and you're like, okay, well, how did they start off going to pitch competitions? Did they start off going to a local chamber of commerce, quote unquote, or did they join the business association, or did they just wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm going to do a business plan? They ran into a billionaire and they got funded. It's like that process. Throughout those processes, though, we all reach obstacles and challenges. And I think that's a sweet spot for our podcast, is to really dive into some of the challenges that people face, and then how do they overcome those challenges. So can you tell us how you got to start a company building construction material and building homes out of hemp? That seems like a big stretch from the Navy.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a stretch. So thankfully, the Navy did pay for my education. So that's one thing that I got out of it. And going to school, I was originally just going to school to get into construction. And because I like working with my hands, but on my road to, finding ways that I could be an asset to the industry, I was introduced to hemp construction material. And I just kind of dove into researching and development and understanding the material, understanding how it works. And once I got into it, I'm never going to let it go, because I feel like this is the way in the future, for not only the construction industry, but for the world to, get a better hold on how we take care of our planet.
So what is that? What is the hemp material? Can you break that down to us? Some of
Yeah,
us.
so
Go ahead.
no problem. Yeah, so hemp is like we like to say, it's the cousin of the cannabis plant, and so hemp necessarily doesn't have any. When you're growing it for industrial purposes, it's a level that you're allowed to have in THC, which is usually below 0.3%. And with that, you're able to industrialize it and use it for purposes like you see on the market, for CBD oils, or you can see with the gummies and things like that. For my purpose, though, the hemp plant, you can use the hurd, which is the stalk part. And when you allow it to dry out and cut it and mix that with the lime binder and water, it becomes a very durable material. The material then is pest, fire, and mold resistant. And these qualities of this material, when it's mixed with lime, is what makes it so sustainable and better when you're using it for construction.
So let's just break that down right there for a second, because I think I know 10G has a mold client. So, but I also know some friends of ours who are their house in California. I'm sorry, in Florida, and it was went through the last hurricane. Roof came off. They put the temporary roof on, and then mold, unfortunately came into the house. So mold is a real issue, I think, that people don't know about, deal with until this happens. That being the case, what you just said about hemp is really important, because if we could really get to understand how this material stops the growth, or does it stop the growth, or is it completely mold resistant? So if I had a room built out of hemp, that room would be non-mold forever. Is it for 100 years, 50 years?
Well, the beautiful thing about hemp is that it's a breathable material, and so when you build with it, you will obviously leave a nice little thin vapor for the air to be able to. But so in your case, in Florida or along the coast, the hemp, it'll soak in and absorb that moisture, and it'll hold it. And so when you build with it, you create maybe a way so that this vapor can escape, usually with the siding or however the wall is. And over time, the water is going to breathe out. It's going to just let that out through that source or that area that you're allowing it to go. And so over time, the water that is held within inside the walls is going to just slowly go into the air.
Wow.
And so then that is what makes it mold resistant. It does not maintain the water. It holds it, and then over time it lets it out and into the air.
That's what's up. So it's a technology in a way. Hemp is a tech.
Yeah. Yes, and I think that is where we are falling behind. And I mean, not so much in America, because we're just we're getting back onto the train of building with hemp and using it in industrial purposes. But other areas in the world like Europe, Canada, China, they haven't stopped building with hemp, but they are trying to find better ways and use technology more so to enhance and better the material.
That's what's up. Any other questions, Tenji?
Yeah, I was, always curious, how, it just like works. And it's so funny how like you can use specific things to, take it and then do something else with it afterwards. But so when is that now? Because I've noticed so many people are getting into that industry, and are you starting to see the the gatekeeping, the like hidden, you have to know XYZ person, or you have to complete specific things to get to a certain level? Or is it just the hard work or the investment? You have to have capital to really gain and get into the business altogether.
I would definitely say it's a little bit of both. It's about knowing and putting yourself in the rooms, the correct rooms. Obviously, like I mentioned before, hemp in the U.S. is just starting, so it might seem like it's only a certain group of people that know. It's only a certain group of people that have the access, the capital to be able to do these things, which is true, but it doesn't mean that that's where it has to stop. I think the U.S. they just passed the hemp as an IRC code, so it is in the industry. You can use it as a residential and commercial material, which is huge for the industry, because that means that now I can come to a client and offer this as a material for me to retrofit or build their homes with, and I have the black and white to prove it from the people that matter, which is the government, right? And so the thing now is the farm bill, because obviously we need people to farm the hemp to be able to build with the hemp and manufacture and process it. And so the hemp bill is the farm bill is one of the things that I think as an industry we're trying to get standardized, just so that it's easier for if I myself want to go out and get a group of farmers to farm, they're not having to jump through 15 million hoops to just farm hemp versus, because before the farm bill, you used to have to test every plant for how the THC level, which is not only a lot of time, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of man hours lost, just because I'm testing every plant to make sure and tell you that it's under 0.3% or whatever the threshold is. I think that now they're trying to go to they touch a percentage of it versus the whole grow, which is beneficial for the farmers, and also the licensing and the requirement for having a license to grow hemp. If we're using it for industrial purposes as an industry, we feel like it should be just like any main crop, any share crop. I should be able to grow it and use it for those purposes because that's what I'm using it for. And so that is the main push for the farm bill, is being able to lessen the licensings of having to, have my farmers go every year to get licensed to grow my hemp, when, this is the intended purpose for it, which is industrializing. And if you can come out and test a quarter of it or a third of it, and then we're good, then that should be the case. I even heard that they are even trying to push for even a drone check, so that something could fly over and kind of test that way and scan and see and in that way. So I think the industry as a whole is really trying to normalize it, I should say, standardize it so that it is a little bit more accessible for somebody that is coming into the industry to be able to have the access to do that.
Okay, speaking of someone coming into the industry that that is going to be able to have access, and I know from reading on it and hearing about a few things with the Farm Bill that they're getting ready to push and ask for a lot more money from President Biden and the government. With somebody that's just coming into the industry, like what is it easy for them to become part of things, or do they have to I'm saying like if you study in like an entry level position for someone getting in there, or is it an easy part right now, or is it still like something like you still have to know a lot about it?
It's just the know-how because it's just the education piece. If you come in and you don't know what you're talking about and you're trying to market yourself, you're going to have a lot of facts. You're going to have a lot of information to be able to tell your clients so that they have an understanding as well that they're comfortable in you using this material. It's so new as in expressing it and educating it. So I think that's the main part when you're coming into the industry is make sure that you educate yourself. Just in anything, that's in any industry that, the first thing is, know your craft, know what you're working with, know, all the different types that might come with it. So, for myself, that's what I really dived into, because nobody really gave me the information. I just, applied myself. I looked on LinkedIn. I started finding the groups. I started just getting myself in these conversations, listening to podcasts, understanding, because I understood that the information wasn't necessarily going to come to me because the industry is so new. I had to go out and seek that information, which is what I'm able to do. But we are, I think now in America, we're trying to make it a little bit more accessible for newer people that's coming into the industry.
That's good. I like that.
Yep. Thank you.
The one of the things that I wanted to accomplish with this conversation was to give you, the space to talk about some of the challenges. So we have this great opportunity, great technology. You decided after leaving the military that you wanted to make use of the ability for the military to pay for your education, and you chose construction, which is an interesting choice. A lot of people probably may not have thought to do that. So, but that said, there are challenges that you're facing. One of those challenges you discussed with me privately was around pitching. Can you tell us a little bit about what some of those challenges you faced when it comes to fundraising or raising funding for your company?
It's just trial and tribulations, I can honestly say. When I first came into the industry, you see so many success stories. You get a false, I wouldn't say false hope, but you get this idea in your head that it's going to be as easy as they put in an article, or as easy as they put it in a book. When somebody say, "Oh, just bootstrap," you're like, "Okay, I can go out and ask people for money." But there's certain operating procedures that you have to follow. There's certain paperwork that you're going to have to need. There's certain verbiage that you need when you're talking to these stakeholders, when you're talking to VCs, venture capitalists, when you're talking to these people. There's certain things that they look for before they even open up their checkbooks to you, and a lot of the times it could feel like a cat and mouse game. And so if you're not in it for the passion, if you're not in it for your craft, if you're not in it to be the best at what you're trying to start your business, it can be a very daunting experience because it's not all doors are not going to get opened, and for somebody that's a person of color, that's even less of a percentage that doors are going to get open. So, you have to understand that, but you have to make sure that, you don't allow that to deter you or get you off of your path.
One of those things I think that's interesting about your story is that you chose to join, as you said earlier, you researched the industry on LinkedIn, and that led you to join the American Hemp Builders Association?
US HBA. Yes.
I had never heard of that. So I'm not that I know everything about hemp or builders, but I mean, I've heard of construction, the construction industry, me being both of us from New York, and I'm very familiar with the unions and the laborers and blah, blah, blah. Never heard of the U.S. Hemp Builders Association. How did you find that organization?
Just as like just being involved. So um, with understanding that I'm very good at networking. So I understood that I have to get to know people. So with getting to know people, obviously they're going to post things. They're going to say, "Oh, we went through this event," or if I'm commonality, it's called what is it called? When you click something and it's constantly coming up your feed.
Right,
So
right.
it started just feeding me these things, and so I started paying attention to the algorithm. That's what it's
Right.
called. So I just started paying attention to the things that were coming up on my feed, things that were starting to come into my thing, and then I'm like, okay, let me look into it. And US HBA came across, and I obviously did my research. And for me, as in construction, I'm understanding that, okay, this is an association that is specifically for hemp building. So let me understand a little bit more what they offer. And I came across the US HBA through a post, I think, from a expo, and I think the secretary at the time of the HUD had Marsha Fudge. She's not in charge.
Yeah,
She just stepped down. She had an interview with the president of the USHBA, and he was having a conversation, and they were having a back and forth conversation about it, and that piqued my interest because I was like, whoa, if somebody of that caliber is showing interest in it, especially somebody that's involved in the HUD development and department. I'm honestly 2 and 2 plus 2, 1 plus 1 plus 2, So I'm like, hey, it might not happen now, but eventually this is something that they see that is a viable option to be able to use. And so I obviously tapped into the US HBA, and just to understand their aspect
what
of what they're
opportunity
doing.
they have to offer. Yeah,
Exactly.
I want to shout out to Janie Cummings, a sister from the UK. Thanks for tuning in. She has a great YouTube channel called Video for Bosses. Definitely, if anybody is interested in understanding YouTube and creating space on YouTube for yourself, you gotta check out Sister Cummings. Thank you for tuning in. And she brought up a good point. In one of the things you were talking about, the algorithm, was retargeting. So what I take from your experience is, and hopefully the audience can take home this, is that you knew yourself enough to say, hey, Elliot, I'm out the military. All right, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to school, but I want to go to school something I'm interested in, which is construction. And then within that industry, you saw an opportunity. You said, oh wow, hemp. It's like a tech. It's like a new tech. And if you get into the new tech, like you get into AI, you're going to come in at a higher level than just somebody who understands how to build with concrete or wood or whatever other building material. That's good. That puts you into a different category. That's really smart. Then you're looking around and saying, hey, who's the market leaders as far as organizations go? And you happen to come across the U.S. Hemp Builder Association because you were searching, as Sister Cummings brought out, that the algorithm started to feed you stuff that you're interested in. So you didn't just search, but you searched something that was in your specific passion, purpose lane, and then the algorithm fed you. And that's really one of the coolest things about living today, is that, I don't know if anybody else has seen this, but I mean, I know Tenji and I talk about it privately all the time. Instagram now, you can type in marketing in the search space on the For You page, and it'll feed you all these marketing Instagrams, and you go click on one or two, go back to the search page. Now your search page has half marketing.
Yeah.
And it's instantaneous. Years ago, it was like maybe a day, a week later, you started to see a shift, but now it's like that. So you can immediately be fed the stuff that you're looking for, which is what you did. But lastly, in acknowledging the obstacles to raising capital as a new business, one of the other things because you said, let me be a part of another association, and your brain was saying, hey, Elliot, I'm good at networking.
Mhm.
What can I do to make sure that I use my unfair advantage? We say that in startup world. Your unfair advantage over somebody else is that they're not good at networking, but you are. So you found a place to network, right? One of the things that how I met you was through a post on LinkedIn that our founder Jewel Love talked about the fact that Black men who are in executive positions need to network. How did you come across Jewel and the Black Executive Male Association?
Just the same way. So Jewel, he popped up in the algorithm on LinkedIn. So for a long time, I did away with a lot of social media, and I just kept LinkedIn. I did away with Instagram. I did away with Facebook. I did away with all of it because it was just too mind-boggling. It was just weighing down on my conscience and how I was moving around in life. So I just did away with all, but I did keep LinkedIn for business purposes because I understood the value of LinkedIn at the time. And so he came across my feed, and funny enough, when I first seen him, I thought he was AI. I thought it was fake. And, I was like,
Yeah, me too.
You're right. I was like, what? I was like, why does this dude keep coming across my thing? And so I just went by it. I didn't think nothing of it. But I did. But I did join the Black Executive Network, which was Ben. And so I was just like, it still kept coming in. So finally, he dropped the post of we're starting a community. If you guys want to join, okay. If you guys want to join, then go ahead, hop on and see what happens. So I'm like,
Right.
It's free. So I'm like, what's gonna hurt it? Like, okay,
Right,
it's free.
right.
Let me check it out.
Right.
So that's what I did.
Right.
I joined, and it was the best thing that I ever did. Honestly, it was, so I joined in, and I was like, oh, this is actually a community. This is actually,
They can come on if you want to bring them on.
Yeah, she's
okay. So
okay,
we
have to
on
go
this
get
show,
them.
we're kid friendly on this show.
These are
I don't know
fine.
anybody else's show, but
These are
I
fine.
don't
You
have
don't
a
need
choice to
panties
be
on.
kid friendly because I got a gang.
You want to say hi?
Hey sis, how you doing? Hey,
Who those guys? Who those guys?
She can't hear you. Say hi.
Okay. Hi.
You say hi. Okay. Can you go get something for me, and then I will help you. Okay. All right.
Like fine, Dad. Okay, fine.
Okay.
All right.
Um,
I guess.
So that was the main thing for myself. So I was like, okay, it's free, and like it doesn't hurt to just download it and check it out. And so when I got into that community, I realized the importance of not only what I was doing, because I originally was so headstrong on building with him because I realized how it could benefit our community, the underserved community. And I understood that if I was able to mastermind and be able to get my farmers back, able to, get the resources that they need for farming, to get paid what they need to get paid for farming, because you and I talked, less than 23% of Black farmers exist in America. And, and every day they are losing. They're losing their they're losing their farms because they can't afford the mortgage and the banks are taking them. So so I'm like, how do I stop this before before we look up and now we don't have any land? And so I seen that hemp was excuse me.
No, you're good. And one of the things, 10G, that came to mind when I was talking to Elliot was I met a brother on Clubhouse who's a what do you call that person that does the he's a lobbyist and he's in Texas, and he was talking about exactly the same thing about how the Black farmers when they do lobby and they get to hold on to, like, a couple times they have gotten paid. I'm sorry, the government has issued the edict to pay them what they're worth.
Right.
In his field in Texas, there's a lobbyist or lobbies that are specifically targeting Black farmers so they don't get paid. So the thing I think with hemp, and I think that's where it gets interesting at with hemp and cannabis, but specifically for this conversation, hemp builders and farmers who are farming hemp is moving too fast. That the old school, and I say old school, I mean it's not like 20 years ago. I mean old school, like Stephen Miller and what's ever that guy's name, Blum. They're focused on like DEI. They're focused on like direct ways that say black.
Mhm.
But what Elliot just said, which is what we need underserved farmers. That could be
Right.
anybody. That could be rural white people. That could be, Hispanic people. That could be whatever.
Mhm.
And if we focus on underserved farmers and a technology like hemp that everybody needs because of climate change and everything,
Right.
everybody's willing to, just throw money at this problem to get it solved. We can get in there, get ourselves situated, get the checks, and then people are moving. It's not just saying we have to give up the battle that, like, I mean, it's billions of dollars that is in the court right now that's owed to black farmers that the lobbyists are really pushing the courts to not give to black farmers. It's not even like it's this money that owed them. It's not
Mhm.
that this is a handout or anything like that. But I love where you're going with it, Elliot. I know we've been on for like half an hour. Want to make sure that we give space for our families today. And I know, I just saw your children. And I know I got a 2-year-old who's banging up
I
my
got to take them to the pool. So
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So any final thoughts, fellas?
I like this. I would like to say is like just speaking to Elliot and during the conversation. What this reminds me of is also it's like AI with it's still new to many people, but you could get in, you could dive in, and you can really learn, and it can take you to a space where like you're on board early on, and you gain the fruits of it, just the knowledge and the people, and what's about to transpire. So it just reminds me a lot of AI in a sense from there.
Yeah, I feel like the
Okay.
opportunities are unparalleled and unheralded to this point because construction is something that this country and other countries, but
Mhm.
the construction industry is a $1 trillion industry.
Oh yeah.
And,
Oh,
and we,
and then you got the money for the infrastructure bills going to a lot of different things now, boy. If you can get in there and just get a little piece of for your business, and they are handing out, especially for companies that are of color, you gotta know what to be asking for as well.
right,
Yes,
right.
sir.
And I love the fact that Elliot is focused on building, teaching how to build. Also, with the build schools that his association he is a part of does. So that's one angle. Another angle is definitely the farming and producing the actual plant, the product to build with, and then that process. So I think my prediction is we'll see Elliot at the top of some conference talking about how important it is for us to be involved and make even maybe probably going viral, Elliot, if you have some kind of video that shows here's the plant, here's the lime, or here's the process. Plant gets broken down, the lime does this. Now you have a solid brick. That type of video, I think, will go viral, and I can definitely see 10G and I sharing that video.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Yes, we got some stuff coming up on the horizon, so we're definitely working on some things in the background, just to get the education out there. Because I think if we educate ourselves, then we're able to be of a benefit not only to ourselves but to our communities. And that's the beautiful thing about hemp is that it just doesn't stop with growing it. It continues on, and it has that capability to serve different purposes, even down to taking care of a lot of toxins out of soils and things like that. So when you really dive in and you understand this plant, the benefits of it don't just stop at growing it, and it doesn't even stop at building with it, and it's so regenerative that it's forever. It's going to forever be able to produce for us, and that's the
Excellent.
beautiful thing about it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us,
You're
everybody.
welcome.
Please keep in mind the respect and the decorum for Memorial Day. I know we celebrated in the past. I think the newer mindset is to be, much more respectful and mindful day than the barbecue celebration that we grew up with in the 70s and 80s. We didn't know, we didn't understand. So therefore, we'll see you guys soon. We're gonna look at a couple other. I see somebody just showed up in the comment section there, 10G. That's one of the 10G's cohorts there on Clubhouse. And I had a good experience in Mimi's room, learning from her on TikTok. So the love about being connected worldwide. But y'all have a blessed day, and we'll be back with another episode really soon.
Assalamu alaikum. You guys have a blessed day.
Take it easy. All right.